go to your country, go back to your country and go and kill your fathers and your sisters, criminals, fraudsters. You will go to your country back. Nigeria must go.
Nigerians must go. That chant is bouncing off the walls of Accra's markets again. A visceral echo of a complicated, decades-long relationship. If you think it's just online noise, just a hashtag that will fade, ask the Ghanaian shop owner who padlocked his stall last month after his Nigerian neighbor was served a 7-day quit notice by a traders association. This isn't a simple Twitter spat. It's the raw, unfiltered sound of economic friction, a manifestation of anxieties that have deep roots in both shared history and present-day pressures.
Stop kidnapping, stop human trafficking, stop stealing, stop armed robberies. We are sick and tired of Nigerians in Ghana. This is a peaceful walk. It's not a demonstration. But this person wants every Nigerian and to our immigration officers at the borders.
So why does one of Africa's tightest, most intertwined friendships often feel like a messy, recurring breakup? Why do these tensions flare up with such predictable intensity? To understand what's happening, you have to wade into the controlled chaos of a place like Kantamanto Market on a Tuesday morning. The air feels thick, not just with harmattan dust, but with a palpable tension you can't quite shake off. Here, the narrative is brutally simple. Local traders will tell you that Nigerian retailers, flush with capital, grab the best stalls, slash prices to unsustainable levels, and restock goods directly from Lagos with a speed and scale that local competitors find impossible to match. The Ghana Union of Traders, GUTA, has repeatedly voiced these concerns, stating that foreign nationals, primarily Nigerians, are illegally dominating the retail sector reserved for Ghanaians. One GUTA president claimed that foreign nationals now control as much as 60% of local commerce in some areas, pushing indigenous businesses toward extinction. This sentiment is the fuel. Then comes the spark. A couple of viral videos, perhaps showing individuals with Nigerian accents, allegedly involved in fraud or other crimes, explode across WhatsApp and TikTok.
Oh boy. Since you just say her house for this, nah. Guys, since you just sold one of our house for this, since you just sell out. I won't take all this woman and give her American voice.
Instantly, every online forum transforms into a kangaroo court, and long-held stereotypes are given fresh life. The argument, as presented by those waving placards for Ghanaian jobs for Ghanaian hands, is that this is purely about economics and the enforcement of the law, not xenophobia.
Of Nigerians in Ghana, this is a peaceful walk. It's not a demonstration. But this person wants every Nigerian and to our immigration officers at the borders.
This cycle of grievance and reaction is not new. It is a painful rhythm that has repeated itself for over half a century. To grasp the depth of this rivalry, one must look back to 1969. Facing economic hardship and rising unemployment, the government of Kofi Busia enacted the Aliens Compliance Order. The official justification was to compel all immigrants to regularize their status, but it resulted in the mass expulsion of an estimated 2 million people, a vast number of whom were Nigerians. Many had lived in Ghana for generations, contributing significantly to the economy as traders, cocoa farmers, and laborers. They were scapegoated for Ghana's economic troubles, accused of draining resources and taking jobs from citizens. The result was a humanitarian crisis, with families uprooted and forced to leave hastily, often losing their property in the process. 14 years later, the roles were dramatically reversed. In 1983, Nigeria, once a booming oil-rich destination, found itself in the grips of an economic crisis caused by plummeting global oil prices. The government of President Shehu Shagari, facing an election and needing a scapegoat for widespread unemployment and hardship, issued an executive order for all undocumented immigrants to leave. This event, which expelled up to 2 million West Africans, over 1 million of them Ghanaian, became known as the Ghana Must Go saga. The name was immortalized by the cheap, sturdy, checkered plastic bags that countless Ghanaians used to hastily pack their belongings. Those bags, still seen across West Africa, became a powerful symbol of forced migration and the trauma of being cast out. These two historical events, the 1969 order and the 1983 expulsion, are not just footnotes in history. They are living memories, pieces of a painful inheritance passed down through generations, creating a blueprint for how each nation responds to the other during times of economic distress. The modern iteration of this conflict revolves around a direct clash of laws. At the heart of the dispute is the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, Act of 2013, Act 865. This law explicitly reserves certain economic activities for Ghanaian citizens, including all forms of petty trading, hawking, and operating stalls in markets. For a foreigner to legally participate in the broader retail sector, they must meet a steep requirement: a minimum investment of $1 million in cash or goods and services, plus the employment of at least 20 skilled Ghanaians. Ghanaian trader unions, like GUDA, argue this law is simply not being enforced, allowing a flood of foreign competitors to operate illegally. They see their actions, like forcibly closing shops, not as vigilantism, but as a desperate attempt to compel the government to uphold its own laws. On the other side, Nigerian traders and the Nigerian government point to the ECOWAS Protocol on free movement of persons, residents, and establishment. This regional agreement is designed to create a borderless economic community, allowing citizens of member states to live and work across West Africa with relative ease. From their perspective, the GIPC Act's $1 million requirement is a protectionist measure that violates the spirit and letter of regional integration. Nigerian business owners argue they are being unfairly targeted, grouped with investors from outside the continent, despite the deep historical and cultural ties between the two nations. They claim to pay taxes and contribute to the local economy, only to face harassment and the constant threat of having their livelihoods destroyed overnight. This legal stalemate creates a gray area where both sides can claim to be right. Ghanaian officials state the GIPC law isn't targeting any specific nationality, but applies to all foreigners, while Nigerian representatives argue it's a diplomatic crisis fueled by discriminatory enforcement. Beneath the legal and historical arguments lies a complex economic reality. While Nigeria's overall GDP is significantly larger than Ghana's, Ghana's economy has often been seen as more stable and a magnet for investment, attracting Nigerian entrepreneurs and capital. However, the bilateral trade relationship is surprisingly nuanced. In 2023, Nigerian exports to Ghana were valued at $162 million, a figure that has been decreasing over the past 5 years. In the same year, Ghanaian exports to Nigeria stood at $116 million, showing an increase over the same period. This suggests that while Ghanaian products are finding their way onto Nigerian shelves, Nigerian retailers have established a strong physical presence in Ghanaian markets. This creates a perception on both sides of being economically colonized by the other. Add to this the volatile dance of their currencies, the cedi and the naira. When the exchange rate shifts, the cost of goods fluctuates wildly. A price hike that is a simple market reaction can feel like deliberate sabotage to a struggling consumer or competitor. and politicians on both sides are quick to fan these flames with promises of protection for indigenous businesses, especially when an election is on the horizon. This combustible mix of economic anxiety and historical grievance is then poured into the high-octane engine of social media. A single, unverified CCTV clip of a phone snatching, captioned with an assumption about the perpetrator's nationality, can be shared thousands of times on TikTok and Facebook within minutes. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, the tendency to favor information that confirms pre-existing beliefs. Politicians might call it a useful tool. A recent incident involved an old, resurfaced video of a Nigerian community leader in Ghana discussing plans for an Igbo kingdom, which, despite his apology and clarification that the plans were long abandoned, triggered widespread fear and suspicion online. This digital wildfire can make isolated incidents feel like an overwhelming crime wave. While Ghanaian authorities have noted that foreigners are involved in some crimes, official statistics often do not support the narrative of a crime wave driven by a single nationality. But numbers and data are slow, while memes and viral videos are instantaneous. Social media doesn't create the fire, but it acts as the petrol, turning a small brush fire of local tension into a raging inferno of national outrage. Amidst the noise, the human cost is often lost. Behind the statistics and slogans are real people trying to make a living. Spend time on the ground, and you hear the same story of struggle told in different accents. You hear it from Akasua, a kinky seller in Accra, who watches her rent climb and her sales fall, while the foreign-owned shop next to her seems to have an endless supply of new stock. You hear it from Emeka, a phone accessories dealer, who feels that he pays his taxes and employs Ghanaians, but is instantly painted with the same brush of criminality every time another Nigerian makes the headlines. Both Akasua and Emeka are squeezed by the same macroeconomic forces: high inflation, punishing import duties, and a volatile currency. Yet in the search for a simple answer to a complex problem, it becomes easier to blame the face across the counter than the abstract economic policies that affect them both. So, where does this leave the relationship between two of West Africa's most important nations? The chants of Nigerians must go are a symptom of a deeper illness. They are the product of real economic pain mixed with political opportunism and amplified by the echo chamber of social media. Every generation seems to find a reason to drag out the same cursed bag. Ghana must go, or Nigeria must go, depending on who is feeling the economic pinch more acutely. History has shown that mass expulsions are not only ugly and inhumane, but also economically devastating for all involved. A forced exodus of Nigerian small-scale investors from Ghana could gut the informal economy, hurting landlords, wholesalers, and transport workers. Similarly, the remittances sent home from those traders are a vital lifeline for families and communities in Nigeria. The path forward requires moving beyond the blame game. It means enforcing laws fairly, without ethnic profiling, and acknowledging that criminals carry every type of passport. It requires both governments to proactively share credible data on trade, crime, and permits to kill the rumors that thrive in darkness. And it means creating economic policies that help local traders compete through access to capital and credit, rather than through xenophobia. Ultimately, the people of both nations must decide what the future of West African integration looks like. Is it a convenient slogan to be discarded whenever the economy stumbles? Or is it a daily, conscious choice to see a neighbor's hustle not as a threat, but as a vital part of a shared, prosperous future? Until the real disease of economic anxiety is treated, the fever of resentment will keep returning, and the loudest, most divisive voices will continue to set the agenda. The ball is in our court.